What's up, guys? It's your boy, only upload 2 times a year here. Narrating a dream I had way back in August, early August, the 7th. I've been meaning to do this video for a while now, but I just fucking haven't gotten around to it. But now I have, so here we are. Anyways, so the dream opens with me packed in a minivan with 7 other family members on our way to some family reunion or something. We get to this big fancy house I've been to in other dreams, and we're greeted by this lady who I believe was supposed to be an aunt, but I honestly have no idea. Everyone unpacks in her house and gets settled in for the week, and typical family interactions ensue for a few days. There's also a dog that looked a lot like my friend's dog, and behaved exactly like that dog, but it was a different color. I don't know why I included that in my fucking account of this dream. But anyways, at some point or another, 3 of my friends all came over to this random aunt's house in the middle of nowhere, like 3 states away, to visit for some reason. Eventually it comes down to the final day, and we've gotten to the event that we came for, which I believe was supposed to be a wedding. There were around 200 people gathered in this outdoor arena that was made of wood for some reason, and it had kind of like a stage in the middle that had a jumbotron on it. And the event happened, and it starts winding down until all of a sudden fucking John Stamos comes out to sing, and he sings like half of a song and and then just leaves. And everyone was like, nah, we ain't topping John Stamos, so everyone just went home. Surprisingly, nothing bad happened on the rickety ass grandstand made of wood, even though I was like 100% sure it was going to. The next day we were in like a 50s style diner, like an A&W or something, having breakfast before we left for home. And then all of a sudden a bunch of drivers outside started fucking like going apeshit. Someone in a Chevy Silverado blasted off the highway through the parking lot and crashed into some parked cars. Then these 2 tuners in like Japanese imports drifted by onto a different highway that branched off of the first one. It was like the restaurant was like on the corner of the 2. Then another driver from the first highway, driving a Jeep Wrangler, shot off the highway the same way the Silverado did. But this time he didn't go through the parking lot. He went straight into the diner and hit me. I am now dead. My perspective cut to someone else, I'm not sure who, but I was sitting at the bar looking at the carnage behind me when this shady looking ass teenager walks into the diner. Basically, this dude had like a massive god complex, and he would like slaughter anyone who dared to criticize him in the slightest. So basically I died because I goofed on some emo dude once. But anyways, he gives this like long-winded speech as I, as the new person, am just sitting there frozen in my seat, staring at a menu, not like fucking daring to look at this dude in case he like misinterprets it. Which turns out to be a bad move because he misinterpreted me not looking at him and got offended because he thought that I wasn't looking at him because I thought I was too good to quote-unquote cast my gaze upon him. He then slit my throat. I am now dead again. Cut to a day later, I've now once again switched perspective to someone else. I'm talking to some friend who's telling me about the events at the diner. I go, whoa, that's pretty fucked, and she agrees and leaves. Excuse me. I go on my computer and look up the story and have a minor heart attack. The dude who allegedly did this also wrote, directed, and starred in a horror movie I recently blasted on YouTube. It is at this point I learned that I had now taken the perspective of Adam, the YMS guy. A few seconds later, I hear this bus pull up outside my house, and I somehow just immediately knew it was the guy and that I needed to book it. So I bolted out my back door, at which point I arrived in the backyard of where I live in real life. Because apparently in my dream universe, Adam YMS lives in my house. But anyways, I booked it into the woods and started following this trail that I had blazed as a kid in real life. And I knew that this dude was going to he wasn't going to give up chasing me down, so I decided to find a weapon. I got to this property in my neighborhood that had been dozed and replaced with a movie set recently. It was some docufilm about a family in the 1800s trying to raise a girl with Down syndrome. For some reason, the property was surrounded by like 7 barbed wire fences, but I just zooped through all of them like a fucking snake and got to this cabin in the middle, where I found the actor who was portraying the father. Apparently, either he was a method actor or he was actually a man from the 1800s, because when I said that I would pay $230 for his pistol, he was flabbergasted that anyone would pay that much for anything. So I tossed in my wallet, strapped on the gun belt, and waited for the teenager to get closer. Unfortunately, I saw that he had brought backup, and I realized I had no option but to retreat. So I somehow snuck back out the way I came, and as I was escaping, my perspective temporarily switched to a cinematic camera inside the cabin. The teen had made his way inside and asked the cowboy if he had seen someone matching my description go by. He said he had, but he didn't want to tell him where I went in case he was the dude who wanted to hurt me. So the teenager was like, I'll give you $1,000 to help me track him down. And the cowboy, and I quote, says, "Shit, nigga, he went that way." So the cowboy and the emo posse depart, and the camera slowly fades to black as they walk off after me. After a few seconds of darkness, my perspective has switched back to Adam, and I've somehow made my way into a big city. Also, it's night now. I was searching desperately for a safe place to rest for a while, and I decided on a Chinese restaurant because why would they ever look for me there? So I stroll into this restaurant, into the kitchen, and draw my revolver. I tell the staff, who's all black for some reason, that I don't mean any harm, I just need to rest for a minute. But if any of them let anyone else in or rat me out, then I would blast them. So this one lady was like, "Oh, you must be the guy that kid was looking for. I guess the bounty is ours then." So these big burly NFL-looking dudes start walking towards me, and I had no choice but to shoot them all and bolt out the back door to escape. So now I know that the whole city is after me, and I'm out of ammo for my revolver. So I start trying to hatch a plan to use the environment to trap and kill the teenager. As I'm walking down this alley in an industrial area of the city, I see him and the cowboy in the distance. So I climb on top of a storage container and lie flat on top so they wouldn't see me. It worked, and once they were past, I was able to get a good look at them. The cowboy, I shit you not, had morphed into motherfucking Whole Horse from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I have no idea why or how, but the cowboy was fucking Whole Horse now. So anyways, I hopped off the storage container on the other side, and I started looking around for equipment I could possibly hijack and use to kill them both. That part of the dream was a bit fuzzy when I was writing it down, but I remembered almost being found several more times. Eventually, I find myself climbing up the side of this crane type thing that has a fuel pump and a blowtorch up top for some reason. I get to the top, and the teenager pops out of the cockpit like fucking Jotaro out of the sewers at the end of part 3, and says something that, again, I couldn't quite remember. He then ducked back down into the cockpit and got ready to basically kamikaze the crane thing into itself when I realized that I finally had a way to kill him. I slid the fuel pump into the cockpit and let it run for a few seconds while I rigged the blowtorch to blow into the cockpit even after I bailed. I set the device off, and through the flames, I heard him scream from inside, "Yes! The plan is complete!" I jumped off and looked inside the cockpit, and the nigga was fucking gone. I kind of just assumed he had melted or something, though, I don't know. At this point, I was pretty much broken. So I'm shuffling away from the wreckage towards this grocery store or whatever, when I hear this massive boom from behind me. Apparently I had shuffled really fast because I was a really good distance away at this point. But I look behind me, and I see this mushroom cloud, and then I realize what he meant by the plan is complete. Apparently the crane had some sort of nuclear device in it that I had set off by torching it. So I watched helplessly as this nuclear fire washes over me, just as earlier I had watched helplessly as the Jeep plowed into me at the diner. The camera then shows several people in several locations around the city going about their normal lives, seeing the flash in the distance, and realizing that their time was up. The screen faded to black, then the credits rolled, and then I woke up. So how was your summer, motherfucker?